Good morning, good evening, good night. Episode 294 of NFT Live. We are coming at you on this Thursday, the last episode of the week. Good to see y'all on the Web3 network here. We just got off a really good GM Web3 morning show on our Twitter Spaces. Hopefully you guys can tune into those throughout the week as well. But if you're just here for NFT Live, we appreciate you. Ronan, my friend, my brother, what's going on?
Dude, not much, man. How you guys been? How are you doing?
I'm just trying to survive, brother.
I think that's the storyline. Yeah, that's the storyline for most, for sure. Dude, I like that shirt, GIF.
Oh, this whole thing?
I like that one. You
mean the super limited edition reverse tie-dyed DBs swag? Yeah, there's only about 25 of these that were ever made, so
I didn't
get one.
I got a color, I got a white, I got a black. I didn't get one of those specials. I'm gonna have to go hunt somebody down.
I'll actually have to make you one by hand manually. I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, but you know what? Might be willing to do that for you, my guy.
I love you, brother. Dude, it's been an interesting, few weeks in the space. I feel like it's like, honestly, there's a lot of ups and downs. But what I think I found interesting this week was I feel like there was some kind of like bigger moves being made in the last like week or two, right? Like you got Oni Force like coming, like real things, right? That like matter. Oni Force making some big moves, bringing in some big people into their C-level, right? And like, I shared earlier, Artifact yesterday announced that they've partnered with CAA, which is an agency out of California, to basically leverage their CloneX IP. And they say support their community and creators, which is, I think, super interesting. Because I think that if anything, we all know that Artifact really has pioneered, or not pioneered, but really has been supporters of, the creator economy and allowing your brand to be collaborative. So I'm super interested to see like what comes of that on the grand scheme of things, right? I'm always kind of looking at the bigger picture versus like floor prices and shit like that. So I feel like, this week I see that we are still, continuing to find product market fit, I guess, right, for the technology on a wide scale, but it's there and it's happening, and it's super interesting to me.
I love that intro. GIF, do you have anything to add before we get started on the episode? Let me say one more thing. Hold on. Because we talked about Nike, but Adidas made that WAGME United jersey there, Ronan. So big shout out to...
Yeah, I finally got my WAGME. Look.
Yo, show that thing off.
They're tight. They're kind of tight, aren't they? Is it like small?
Yeah, no, this one is big on me, bro. I'm like, I should have got a small, dude.
You know what that means? You know
I'm
what
not
that means,
like
Ronan?
GIF, bro. I'm not
you gotta
adjusting my hat to show off my guns and shit.
You gotta get those gains, my guy. You gotta
dude. I gotta start getting more protein. That's for damn sure. I'm gonna hit you up, man. I gotta figure out what you're on and get on that diet.
Yeah, shout out to WAGME United. Shout out to all of you guys that are in the episode here early. We host these every day, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, so thank you guys for tuning in. Some of you have been tuning in for what seems to be like all of the NFT Live episodes. So I know not many probably from the beginning, like the first episode when I originally hosted them with Ronan, but you guys have been here for a long time, so appreciate you very much.
So I did have this to add, though, to what Ronan was saying. I just shared my screen here. So I posted about this. Let me actually click through to it. Well, this gets across the point, because I do think that this kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and I didn't see that many people talking about it other than us, for the day that this was like initially coming out, because I feel like this is relevant to what Ronan's saying about, Artifact getting into partnership with CAA, which is one of the biggest entertainment agencies in the world, is like famously like the agency that reps all the biggest movie and TV stars. And CAA has been invested in Web3 and NFTs for a while. And I think
Brian Brinkman, I think, is signed with them.
I think what a lot of people are starting to realize is that one of the primary utilities always has been but we're kind of like refocusing now and actually starting to see some development around this. But it always has been IP. A lot of the NFT projects just haven't had good IP, really. They've sold IP as like that's a thing, but they aren't actually good IP. And then a lot of them just haven't been able to kind of follow through on promises yet or develop into anything more meaningful. But since the beginning, IP and owning original IP has been one of the biggest promises of Web3 of NFTs. And I think we're starting to see what that can start to look like and the potential for this in different ways. And so when Artifact says that they're partnering with CAA to support their community in different ways, to me, what that means is that some of those CloneX characters may actually become character actors in different shows, different series, different things like that. Because what this tweet is talking about, just to summarize it real brief, is that, and again, I think this kind of flew under the radar. There is now like Bored Apes that are being treated as actors with the same rights as Screen Actors Guild SAG members. That's a wild thing that I didn't see coming. That like, I did not expect a Bored Ape to literally get SAG rights, but they are literally getting paid to specification and guidelines of protected rights underneath SAG guidelines. This is wild to me. So basically this Bored Ape and the person that owns this ape are, it's a character in some movie and it's getting treated like a SAG actor. And that to me is absolutely fucking crazy and does show the potential for these characters and some of these IP to be super valuable.
Ronan, are you a Sandbox holder?
Don't think I am anymore.
Okay. I don't know if you remember when the
Dude,
Sandbox.
The fact that he doesn't even know. This is what drives me crazy. This is what drives me crazy about Sandbox. I went off on a tirade earlier when Q didn't even talk about Sandbox when we were talking about top metaverses.
Yeah. You know what? In Ronan, I've told this to Gift, so in some of the folks here, but I haven't kind of had this conversation with you. Like the other side is going to be the Sandbox like times 50,000. You like my original thought was like it's gonna like be a World of Warcraft. It's gonna be this big MMO. It's gonna be a game. Like what the other side successfully can do is take what Sandbox was trying to do, which was leverage all of these other communities telling their own story and make it like actually real, right? Where Sandbox really never could get past like technical hurdles or something like that. That's what I think will be the case. So but that leans into what GIF was saying about sharing IP, right, and growing IP.
Are we imagining the other side is like almost like Fortnite with like a Fortnite editor where like, you own a plot of land. That means you can now create an island, right? Just like fucking Fortnite, you can create your own islands.
Well, Sandbox does that too. That is the whole idea. Yeah, like you create your own experiences, you can build your own games, you can build your own activations in it, all of that. But again, the technological limitations for Sandbox are multiple. One being the pixelized art style that they bought into, this Minecraft-y type thing. And I don't think that honestly that's the greatest experience for a lot of their target market, at least. Like I understand that kids love Minecraft and Roblox and shit, but I don't think beyond like young children that a lot of people love 3D pixel characters that much. So that's a limitation. But the other one is just the technological limitation of the ability to actually have an open world where you've got thousands of people all hanging out and interacting at the same time.
Yeah.
Sandbox hasn't been able to do that. And that's the to me, the biggest difference besides the 3D art and the quality of the visuals and the experience from the art side and that part of the experience, just being able to actually hang out with all your friends in one instantiation.
Yeah, the promise of Sandbox basically is going to be fulfilled, I think, by the other side. Go ahead, Ronan.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think that number one is a result of like number two, right? Like I think they went with that art style because of the limitations that they had with this idea of building this massive world that stitches together that, what's a graphical limitation for someone? And I think that for that dev team, that's where it was. But then you look at what, other side is doing. And the reason other side is able to do it and possibly could be more successful, I think, is because they are leaning into a more adult aesthetic, right? Like, and it's more of that vibe. And then I think that, I don't know, but it feels like, they're probably using Unity or they're using Unreal. I mean, those are the two biggest in the
I think it's
world, right?
Unreal, isn't it?
So, and I was gonna say, if it's Unreal, okay, then if it's Unreal, they literally can be spawning the Web3 version of Fortnite. Like, you can go and create like these different, if they're giving you the tools, right, then you can go and create these different game modes and things. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of potential. Again, but to your point, we need to see, in my opinion, we need to see Yuga go full blown riot. They need to start telling their story in multiple
Netflix.
mediums.
Yeah.
They need to have a fucking television show that is legit, not any of this, look, shout out to Deadheads. They were the first to try to like go that route, but like the fucking trailer, man, it's like, who did that? And it's not really production value, right? You look at Arcane, and that's different. And now you look at like what they've got, their fourth or fifth different Spawn game and like side game, and it's like a different genre versus a MOBA, and it's like an RPG or something, but it's telling a different story in that universe, and then allow people to play, right? So because then they feel like they're playing with that canon, and they're playing in the universe.
So I'm the same feeling I had playing World of Warcraft, by the way. Like, I know we're kind of mixing now between games and kind of the, I think, more content based system like Fortnite, being able to like you're building out your island, like you're saying. I think that's different than maybe like a massively multiplayer online game like a Warcraft, but I think the meshing between those two is interesting. But we're going full Yuga Labs here early. Here is the launch timeline that we've got. We are going to touch into heavy metals as well later in the episode, but we've got 10K TF as the ongoing story being built out. That will definitely be one of the biggest IPs in the other side. Evo 2 reveal, which is like imminent, based on what we've saw over the last 24 hours with Bored Ape Yacht Club. Legends of Mara, in-way game. I don't know what this is. And then we have the ODK release, basically the developer kit for the release of the other side. That's going to be like a pseudo alpha, right? Essentially, that I believe that's what it's going to be.
Does ODK stand for Open Source Developer Kit?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's exciting. I hadn't seen that timeline, and there's definitely some new things. Yeah, like the in-way game, no idea what that is. But I also wanted to, maybe instead of going further down the Yuga route, but staying on this sort of IP gaming discussion, I don't know that we really followed up on a lot of the big announcements that came out of Oni Day, or talked about the fact that they're doing a map in Fortnite with one of the main like Unreal Engine developers. One of the main Fortnite developers is developing an Oniforce world and map for Fortnite, which is fucking crazy.
So
that's pretty dope.
Let's do some housekeeping here and let's immediately jump into that story. So this is the episode for today, folks. We've got what we're going to touch on is again other side, but moving into some other collections that are doing some interesting things on the, I guess, building out IP side like Oniforce. But Louis Vuitton Soulbound tokens. This has been all over the industry right now. I feel like it's a really hotly debated, contested drop here, because essentially Louis Vuitton is dropping $40,000 NFTs that are soulbound tokens. So you're not able to then sell them, obviously, being soulbound. Blur and Blend back to moving the markets. We saw like 150 or 200 mutants get dumped onto the market last night. Machi is back. Franklin is back, which is a story I want to pull up relatively quickly here. And then we've got some other stories from the SEC and pieces like that. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat. If you guys can give that a like and a comment, that would really help us out as we get started here on today's episode. The quick story here. Franklin has the worst security hygiene that I've ever seen. He's been back for 5 seconds and is apparently hacked. So there was a tweet that went out that said, I'm launching a token, yada, yada, yada. And everybody, that's anybody, I think, got messaged. Some of the largest accounts basically were saying, hey, Franklin's hacked. This isn't real. And that tweet has since been deleted, I'm sure. And then he says, I'm back. So this man has been back again for probably like a day. He was gone for about a month. and he's already being hacked. I'm not going to talk too much on it, but I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew that his account was hacked, so don't send any ETH to this man.
I wouldn't really recommend anybody sending ETH to a random influencer anyway, but I know some people. I think some people actually did okay on the PSYOP token or the Ben token initially, and they might think that that's a good reason to do it. I don't know, but yeah, generally speaking, I would say, why are you just sending your money to a fucking influencer for no good reason? Anyway, this is also a great time for us to take a quick moment to remind everybody this is not financial advice. Information was found publicly on the interwebs, and all opinions shared on this episode are solely of the Web3 team. Always remember that this information is public domain and you should DYOR, do your own research, because we're not financial advisors. We're just up here talking about cool shit on the internet, and that's it.
So I had a couple stories to pull up, but if we want to jump into this Oni piece, I'm totally down if it ties into what we were already kind of hitting on. So drop that link. Let me see if I can pull that up. But yeah, I'm simultaneously really happy for you guys and really happy for Oni, but also every development that Oni puts out from the last month and a half, I think, is just a little bit sad.
Reminder.
It's a reminder. It's a tinge of pain. That would have been a 4x play.
Yeah, Ronan, I'm not sure how closely you've been following Nifty Q's Oni Force journey.
That's
or lack thereof.
I am on board. I've got one Oni. I think me and Ronan we're OG minters, I believe.
The man was calling Oni at 10 ETH and wasn't buying them at 0.4. You tell me. You tell me what's going on there.
My liquidity is spread thin.
Hey, yeah, and I think a lot of I think that's the situation, man. I think that's sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them, and especially now, man, you just know you don't know. I really feel like you don't know, right? Like we were just talking about, Oni has put out some really cool news, but so has BAYC, so has Clone X, right? But those aren't moving at all. So if you bought into that thinking the news was going to move the needle, it didn't.
It's fair.
I'm curious, I feel like we kind of started off on the Yuga show a little bit, but this is something that we were talking about on GM Web3. I'm curious if you are interested at all in the vessels, Ronan, because it feels like kind of an obvious play to me, but to your point, who the fuck knows? It just seems like there's never been even close to this opportunity to get into a Yuga character or asset at this price point. And that eventually when Otherside does pick up, that these would probably do relatively well. I think Nifty Q had an interesting point that, to get the full utility, you also have to own another deed, which is probably part of the issue. And then the complexity chasm of, how complicated everything's getting. But to me, getting Yuga assets for 0.2, 0.3 in that range seems like a move. So I'm just curious if you've been looking at them or
we're all over the place with stories here today to start the episode, folks. But we're gonna here's the other side price chart while we talk about this. But these are the vessels.
So I think that in my opinion, what we're seeing probably is more fatigue, right?
100%.
I think it's we're at the point where people just that's 35,000 more NFTs in the Yuga system. So yeah, they're low and but they might, that might be where they should be, right? For me, and again, not financial advice, right? Like Gift said, but I actually sold mine a week ago because they started to kind of see a little pump. There was an interest and I was like, well, this is kind of the highest number I've seen in a minute. So I'm going to jump on it. And I had one of the mid-tier ones. It wasn't the low one, right? So, and I just looked and it's 0.12, 0.14 floor drop since a week ago, because it was 0.38, I think, or something like that. So, I again, it's hard to tell what's gonna gain traction and what's going to move and what isn't right now.
I think the simple answer, the very 20 IQ, 200 IQ answer for Oni Force is that they only have one. They only have one collection. They only have one drop. And so when
It's
you see all
very
of these,
clear.
yeah.
Well, and that's one of the key differences between them and many other projects that are in that complexity chasm right now, like Gutter Cats that we were talking about yesterday. You know, they came up, and Ronan, this could be another great question for you since we've got you here.
You are all over the place right now.
All right. Well, do you want to hit Oni? Do you want to hit
Yes.
Oni? Like
We've hit
okay,
Oni, expanded,
all right.
and now moving into Gutter Cats.
All right.
Which one do we want to hit?
I do want to get Ronan's thoughts on the Gutter Cat question though, because I think it's a fun experiment and a real challenge.
Look, I'm down for it. Not only because, but I think it fits well into this. It's the second birthday here for Gutter Cat. Like today is the 2-year anniversary of the Gutter Cat.
Do you remember? Do you remember the mint we were live?
Oh, we were in the. Hold on, we were in this bitch.
Remember?
We're in this.
We're in the. Yes, exactly. Do you remember? We're sitting there and we were so hyped, and then they launched the shit like 15 minutes early.
Yeah, I mean that all kind
opened, like it was a whole like. Oh man, that was a fun episode. We should go. Man, I wish we like. I don't know. I wish we had buff still sometimes, because that would be good to have like just like some clips from that fucking episode.
I could find it.
DJ Wisdom though. DJ Wisdom, some great comments over here saying people are broke as fuck when airdrop.
Exactly.
That's a big part of the fatigue for sure. And also saying hit the like button. We appreciate you, fam. Thank you for that. And yes, if you haven't already, go ahead down there. Smash the like button for Ronan, for DJ Wisdom, for yourself, for the last show of the week. It makes a big difference getting it out there.
Dude, me too. DJ Wisdom just said, literally just in that second, said, I'm back to buying NFTs for the art. I feel infinitely more peace when I stop caring about NFT values and prices. And that is 100% where I am. The last, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 purchases I've made on Ethereum have all just been pieces of art, dude, that I really appreciated. So look, Sarah just jumped in. Last 4 pieces of art was her drop last week, man. Like that shit makes me happy. And it doesn't matter what's going on with the rest of the space. And I really suggest some people get back to that and remember what it's like to just buy art because you love it.
Well, Dan.
That's amazing. With Crypto Buffalo, oh my gosh, too nostalgic.
Too nostalgic. In his I don't even know what this is. This is his apartment, 900 square foot apartment in his bedroom.
Yeah. He's got his gutter cat though back there.
The other thing about the art buying is that, during this crazy tumultuous situation with Binance, SEC, generally most NFT floors have remained relatively stable, but art NFTs are actually still doing really well. So high-end art NFTs have still been seeing massive sales. And this to me, again, is proving out the thesis that art on the blockchain really matters. And so while some PFPs will come and go with utility or trends or whatever, fine artists, well-respected artists, and high-quality art collections or limited editions will probably retain value a lot better than a lot of PFPs ever can. Again, one of the biggest sales for a while was this Fidenza this week for $1.2 million. But beyond that, there's been a lot of other big sales at, Sotheby's, Christie's, et cetera. They keep doing big NFT sales. And those are not PFPs generally. I think they've done some CryptoPunks and Bored Apes maybe, but generally those are art NFTs, not PFPs.
It's felt like across the board that the term exhaustion is definitely out there, especially on the trading side. Most people are just how do I even, make any money in this environment? And the answer is a lot of times, unless you're a good picker of these collections, that you're not going to do very well because the fundamentals don't match up with what we're seeing outside of maybe Oni and a couple outliers. So yeah, going back into that collector's market would be a really good sign for what we're doing here. So
yeah, it's interesting how it's all cyclical, right? That exhaustion hits the PFP market probably harder than the art market. And then people start, that's one of the things that might bring back more of the collector, market is this exhaustion. And Choin is saying, did art blocks ever even enter the bear market? It's an interesting question. I think they definitely have been probably hit harder, but maybe not, probably been hit, but maybe not as hard as a lot of other types of collections have been, because I know art blocks has still been successfully selling out, 500 or 1,000 edition collections with artists during this bear market. And a lot of them holding value. Like, again, my cargos that I got in, those have held value. Kim Asendorf, I've seen some other collections that we've covered that have held value really, really well. I mean, of course, some of their bigger ones have held value, like the Fidenzas and the Chromies. I think there's probably they have a lot of collections, to be honest, though. I'm sure there's a lot of the like lesser known art blocks collections that have probably lost a lot of their value. And I own one of those, Democracy. I have a Democracy, which is an art blocks that I bought at the top. It's, not worth much right now. So I don't know.
All right, we'll move on into the next combo. I mean, we touched on a couple of early collections here, Gutter Cat Gang being one of them. Oni's been around for a long time as well. We can touch on that team member edition. Ronan, 2-year anniversary here for Gutter Cat Gang. I know they just announced the news behind I believe there was a physical along with so a phygital, to use the term phygital for the only time on this episode for me. Did the LaMelo Ball phygital sneakers do it for you on the Gutter Cat Gang piece? Like, is this gonna move the needle for you on GCG?
I mean, I appreciate the whole like phygital thing, right? Like going and doing like a physical and like the NFTs and everything. But like personally, like that's like not really my style. And I'm not a holder, so it's not something that I'm like super, super interested in.
When did you sell your cat?
Q just sounded so heartbroken.
I know. Like relatively recently, honestly. Like I feel like it was like a month or two ago, maybe.
Yeah. That video is actually cool, though. I mean, you got to give them some credit for continuing to do cool things despite what's going on. Like, whether or not you like that specific shoe, like that video that you were just showing of the shoe was really high quality video, and they're pumping out some interesting content. But yeah, the challenge is that it's not really making a difference in their floor because of this complexity chasm, because they don't just have one collection. People are wary to get into it, right? And that, again, is the key differentiator between Oniforce and Gutter Cats at this point. Oniforce has one collection, so all of that attention, all of that value, all that interest is being driven in a very focused way. So you see the floor go up there. But with Gutter Cats, it's just like, what's the thing?
I don't know the appropriate question to ask here for the Gutter Cats, but it's a 2nd year anniversary for the gang. Like, is Gutter Cat gonna make a resurgence? Like simple lightning question there. Like, does Gutter Cat,
or how? Maybe that's
not how. Not how are they? Based on everything.
Well, that's a poll. Do a
seen.
Poll. Let's do a poll on that. But in the meanwhile, while we do the poll on if, I want to know, Ronan, if you were to take over Gutter Cat, and they said, you're the new CEO, Ronan the Collector, we need you now more than ever, and you could basically wave a magic wand and do whatever you wanted, what would be the thing or things that you would do, and how would you put Gutter Cats back on a good path?
That's a hard one, because this is the thing. All right. You guys know I'm pretty transparent. I have been put in the position, right, to try to look at, an NFT project post mint, post like it having a history, and asked like, how do you fix this? And it's really fucking hard, especially when you have such a massive supply. And a large part of that is because the mindset that is tied to these assets, especially those of like Gutter Cat Gang and things that like a lot of that was purchased during like, a good time in the space. A lot of the people who own those assets still have the mentality that those things are worth that much money. And you should be providing them with value that equates to, a $15,000 digital asset. And realistically, you just can't do that, man. And so I think like that it would be really hard. I do think that to me, another issue that I would have is I'm not a huge fan of the art at all. If it was art that I loved, I think that I am very much aligned with like the Oni Force approach. I feel like and what you're saying, GIF, like really the power in a lot of this stuff is the IP, and I would be looking and leveraging as much relationships as I could to get my IP out there, and tell my story in the highest quality way possible that involve like the community and some cool collaborations along the way, but really focusing on like leaning into storytelling and getting people to care about the characters that we have in the world that we've built. And I just don't know if a Gutter Cat universe is necessarily something I get super excited about.
Yeah.
But Oni is one of those that I would have jumped fucking head first into, and I would have been absolutely the same way as
well, this is where you see the difference in the quality of the IP, right? It starts to become much more apparent. And this is something that I've been getting much more strict about how I'm judging projects. I've triggered Nifty Q a couple times with my honesty around what I think of certain
because he won't buy a baby,
IP.
but he says he buys a kaiju the next day.
Dude, the difference is literally 10x price difference. They're not even close.
I know, but you're talking about the asset themselves. You're like, I like the babies look ugly, and then you buy the kaiju kings. Like it's just the point of.
They're both ugly though. I never said I thought kaiju was a good looking NFT though. That's the confusion here. Anyway, I've been starting to get a lot more strict about how I analyze the quality of the underlying assets, the art, the IP, the actual lore, and the potential for that to transcend into something more resonant that people could actually latch onto or be interested in long term. Because there's so much NFT art and PFP projects that, you know, are these characters, these fun, wacky characters, but most of them are not actually good quality IP that can have any legs at all that anybody would care about. And this is a great time also to shout out people like Cam Taylor over here who are developing next level worlds and characters and IP. So shout out Cam Taylor.
Yep. So here's another piece of context here. So again, babies, Kongs, the debate rages on, but it looks like CyberKongs just 45 minutes ago put out another this time an animated image. So this is animated of again this Genkai drop that they're basically going to launch, and it looks like there's even a character involved. So Sonoko is an actual like character now that they're trying to build out. It looks like that was released with this tweet. So meet Sonoko. He will be selecting and acknowledging those who limit listed for the upcoming Genkai mint. We told you about that yesterday. Again, that's an open mint. You kind of just have to have like a manual application process there. Hopefully Sonoko sees our application here and blesses us. So do we like this like move, Ronan? I know. So basically, again, the debate has been raging around the pixelated art and whether that's good or not. But do you like this move with the art taking a different kind of approach?
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely like, I mean, I have no problem with like the CyberKongs. I think like they're cool in what they are, but I do think that if you're trying to like build and expand your brand outside of like just the space, and you're trying to like really capture like mass appeal and adoption, then it needs to be something that, you know, a wider range of people are going to want to look at. And that is more just, you know, more colors, more clean lines, more high quality, like I don't know what you'd call it, like aesthetic, right? Like I don't want to say high quality in like the art itself, but like the way you look, like it's visually, you know what I mean? You get
it's way more relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to relate to a pixelated character in a deep human way. Whereas where you see something hand drawn and illustrated like that with much more obvious features, you know, and expressions, Like it, you can just relate to it and feel that in different ways that you can't with a lot of pixel art. Pixel art's pixel art characters by definition, by their very nature, are inhuman, computerized, digitized, sort of code based objects, right? Like they're just pixels. They don't. There's nothing human or relatable about it. I mean, you can try and make it look somewhat human, like a CryptoPunk or a Nakamigo, but it's still just a computer generated, pixelated, 2D thing. This has much more depth.
Yeah, so I'll link that Genkai application again so that you guys could potentially do that. So I had a comment, DP saying, I'm going to say that Guttercat Gang will make a comeback, even if only for a brief moment, in the full bowl. All of this shit that had a bit of a name will experience a nice pump. I'm going to use an anecdote here because it also is the birthday of a token that I've talked about for a long time on this network, EOS. EOS was basically I wouldn't call it the Bored Ape Yacht Club of that group, but maybe the Moonbirds of the 2017 run. Like it was not S plus, but it was S minus. And EOS's run has been one that I always bring up as being an example and a example of caution that you should take with a lot of these tokens. So you can see in this 2017 bull run, it got up to like $23. That was the first run for Bitcoin up to 20K. And then what eventually happens here is that ETH runs up to, I believe 2K was the top here for ETH when EOS was at 23. And then it did have another run when ETH ran back up in the next cycle to 6K or I think 4,500. And then I think Bitcoin's price was 60K, right? So Bitcoin 20K over here, Bitcoin 60K over here, but it never regained its former glory against both of those tokens and also just in general. And it's sitting at 86 cents today. And that's the cautionary tale. And so happy birthday, EOS. I'm sorry to throw FUD on you guys, but that is the cautionary tale. Because yes, Guttercat Gang might make a comeback. But might have a pump. But if you might have a pump, and it could eventually have a comeback. We don't know. It could be taken over or maybe they figure it out. But that is the cautionary tale. If you held on to EOS for 5 years saying they're going to do it, the former glory, EOS was a top 5 crypto token and you held up to this time, that is the danger. So just be careful. That I think there's some anecdotes there that can be used towards the NFT space as well. Not just using it as a fungible token, but there's an NFT collection that probably will look just like that in the next run.
DP saying EOS was so overhyped, it's not funny. I'm laughing right now, but I didn't get into it. That was during the first era of crypto influencers. Suppo, cough.
Jack's Hideaway saying Wax ecosystem still has a certain charm. I think Wax is a really great example here that could maybe tie in more to NFTs because me and Ronan were on Wax early days. Wax token probably looks a lot like that EOS chart. Mm-hmm. It and whether it comes back or not, who knows?
Fucking Wax, dude.
It also the tie-in there is that this is actually blowing my mind because the best thing EOS ever did was create the code so that Wax could fork EOS, and that's what Wax is a fork of EOS. So
good times. Wax. They're still out there. They're still fucking kicking.
Jack's Hideaway is saying since EOS has already paid its SEC penalties, they may be one of the only survivors in this current state of affairs. Interesting take. I don't know enough about it, but maybe true. I mean, how much do we want to cover the disaster that is Solana, Polygon, Cardano, Solano and Cardano, and all of these potential securities now? Like Ronan, what happens? What happens to Nike.swoosh and Starbucks Odyssey and Reddit avatars and all these big developments if Polygon is classified as a security?
So actually, that's a really good question. I mean, I have no idea. Like, if what does it mean for something to? You guys know I don't play in that world. So what does it mean if it is classified as security? Doesn't that just mean it gets regulated to hell? Or does it mean it literally just gets like someone has to pull the plug? Because I mean, you can still use it, right? It just means that the chain would be regulated.
You do not want that to happen. You don't want.
Well, I mean,
you don't
obviously,
want
you
to
wouldn't
know
want
the answer to that. You don't want to know the answer.
I
to
know
that.
I don't want to know the answer. I'm just like I don't, like I'm not informed enough to like. But I think that it's obviously scary, because yeah.
So if this happened tomorrow, one of the first things that would happen is that the exchanges would essentially delist the token
right?
completely. So you end up running out of liquidity in some sense on the short term. The projects that have now listed, and we've already seen this happen with the Puma drop. Puma said, no, we're going to hold out, because we're seeing that this stuff is happening with Polygon. So we're going to stop our NFT drop. So you stop seeing NFT innovation, you lose liquidity on the token, and it is a death spiral that will not be solved because the courts move so slow that if they came out and said it's a security and were somehow backed up by the courts, and then Polygon had to fight to say it's not a security, that would take 5 years, 10 years to figure itself out. So what we don't want is for these people to say NFTs are a security, Polygon's a security, Solana's like that would be so bad for innovation.
I from my understanding, I think like a bunch of those, like, or at least the ones that you mentioned too, like they run custodial wallets for like the basics. It's kind of like Nifty, right? Like Nifty has an export option. I think that's the same for .swoosh, which it doesn't currently have. If I remember correctly, they haven't actually attached it to like the ability to export.
There's no secondary market yet on our first one. They say that trading is coming. So on the .swoosh website, it says you can buy, sell, trade, but there's no marketplace yet. So that's an interesting situation.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know.
I want to show this off real quick because people are referencing Cardanzo and Solano, and that's what this comes from. Jim Cramer, folks.
And we all kind of know them. We're talking about Solano, talking about Matic, Cardanzo.
Cardanzo and Solano. Let's go.
Cardanzo and Solano.
And that's someone who covers this stuff daily. Like obviously he trades more in equities. For the most part, he covers commodities, trading, and things like this. But imagine the people that don't trade daily, that are behind the regulation that this is going to potentially come under the jurisdiction of. So,
I mean, look, we've got this is a bigger topic.
Yeah.
We've got a bigger issue, I think, with like the country, where you've got like at some point we stopped electing people young enough to I think run a country like effectively, and it's gotten older and older and older, and like they can't grasp like some of these concepts of how technology can actually change, like in a good way. And I think that's a huge problem for America and innovation. And when it comes to like just the global stage of like keeping up with what other countries are doing. Can't lie. I've been in a couple of those conversations where it's like, yo, other countries are looking better and better.
That seems to be happening.
What's it take to be a citizen in fucking
A lot.
Brazil and like, all these places that are adopting and embracing crypto, as well as like the development taking place on the blockchain. So
some of the issues with that is, I think if I heard correctly, doing some research on Twitter, was that the U.S. is one of the only countries that taxes its expats. Basically, like if you live in another country but haven't renounced citizenship, you still get taxed by the U.S., which is not what other countries do when, say, somebody moves to the U.S. So that's an issue unless you want to renounce your U.S. citizenship completely, which takes, I think there's a few hurdles with that too. There's a big price tag for that.
I mean, I think we've all
We're
come
trapped.
we've come a long way from like what like it should be, and I think that's an excellent example of like our government is there for one thing, and that's to like line the pockets of about 600 and change people and their families, and the other millions of us just kind of have to pay into that shit, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to stay too far into the SEC stuff.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's happening, and it's worth talking about. But not we've been covering it. Me and Giff have been covering it for I think the whole week. I'm in the camp that the SEC is going to lose this battle eventually. Love Balaji's long-term take on this. I don't know if this is it, Jax, but Balaji did tweet out this. The whole point of the SEC, the gold seizures in the 70s and the New Deal was to establish state control over the economy. The allocation of capital in the economy could be placed under federal control. The first step would be to limit self-allocation. So that's from Balaji there. But Gift, you had some?
Dude, it's I'm starting to see more and more like how authoritarian our current system is and how much we're going down that route of where it's like, this whole, like, the whole concept of the land of the free and like freedom being what the US is about feels like a joke. It feels like a sick joke for us at this point. With the way that we're being treated, and it really does, like, it's changing my politics and how I feel about a lot of things. Like, it really has, not just like the wokeism and like some of the crazy shit that I've been seeing on the far left in terms of like social identity politics and all that shit, but the more authoritarian and like crazy I'm seeing how much control and power the government has. It's making me feel less and less comfortable and more like we got to figure out how to push back. Like we got to figure out, like, I don't know, maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. Maybe we're too far gone at this point and there's just not much that you can do.
Jax is hitting on a really great point. He's coming through with some good life alpha here. A number of states will be safe havens. That is 100% true. States like probably Texas, Florida, and a couple others.
Seems like they're heavily going that way. Yeah, I guess Texas and Florida are two that stand out.
Yeah, that will be probably the 2.5 version, or like the halfway out the door version, if you want to call it that, where you're not completely renouncing citizenship. You're saying I actually have to move to a state that has favorable, defenses against this stuff.
The Republic of Texas.
Knox is saying I checked last night and I can still buy ETH and BTC on Binance in Canada.
This is where I go back.
There you go.
To my roots.
Yeehaw. Wyoming Squashman saying, hey, this, I don't know if this is just throwing shade or this has any legs, but this came out this morning in response to the SEC again coming out and saying, hey, Binance, you guys are an unregulated securities exchange. This story came out pretty hot and heavy. Hopefully this has some legs. I saw it being reported by CNBC as well. Binance lawyers say SEC Chair Gensler applied for an advisor role before he became the head of the SEC, an SEC chairman, essentially. So with Binance and the SEC currently engaged in a lawsuit, the latest came from the crypto exchange lawyers, a shocking one. Binance lawyers are alleging that the Gensler offered to be an advisor to the crypto exchange in 2019.
Yeah, because exactly what we just talked about. Money, right? Like, it's like, what side is gonna pay him more money? Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's an uphill battle, man. It is an uphill freaking battle. And I don't know, man. There's a lot of crazy shit that's going to happen in our lifetime. I'm pretty positive of that.
The allegations run deeper, apparently. The attorney says that Zhao continued to stay in touch with Gensler after the March meeting. Also, at the future SEC chair's request, Zhao sat down for an interview with Gensler as part of a cryptocurrency course he taught at MIT.
Yeah, I love that this could be the villain origin story and that there might actually be some like additional context that's levied against Gensler being just sort of sort of a shady asshole or a weirdo. But I don't know how much effect that'll have on the, the rulings of where these court cases go or not. I do think, if we're trying to put lipstick on this pig and look on the bright side, to Ronan's point about, exciting things happening during our lives, we've all known that this was coming, in terms of like, there needs to be regulation of some kind. There needs to be, some kind of way for this to become more accessible or readily available. I think the thing that we didn't expect, or like the thing that we weren't hoping for, was that the SEC and the government would be this negative in their stance, where it's like it seems like they're literally coming out saying crypto shouldn't exist at all. That seems way more aggressive than I think a lot of people were anticipating. Like, I think a lot of people sensed that they weren't going to be very friendly and that they would try and, maintain control. I don't know that everybody thought that they'd come out basically with the stance that like crypto shouldn't exist at all and fuck the whole system. But frankly, maybe we shouldn't be surprised, right? Like, the dollar dominance and the status quo is being threatened. I think that they realize that they probably fucked up on not regulating Bitcoin and Ethereum earlier. And I don't know that we should be that surprised.
Yeah. Somebody said in chat, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, what are the odds that this is just a move so like the government can like buy at the bottom before the shit pumps? And like, I wondered, like, look, conspiracy theories are sometimes just conspiracy theories, but sometimes you hear something like that, you look at the situation and you're like, crypto has shown, I feel like over the last 12 months, its resilience and like the acceptance of like the rest of the world. And yeah.
Fed now is supposed to drop in July. So like, this is something we haven't talked that much about, but you're talking about like, oh, is there conspiracies, blah, blah, blah. I think this has always been the plan. And that's that they've been waiting until they thought it was the right moment. And part of that might be that they feel like the market's in a weak enough spot too. But they, in the lead up to Fed Now coming out in July, again, it's like a month from now, is when they're like really attacking the whole system, trying to weaken it, trying to maintain as much control as they can. So to me, this feels completely coordinated, like a very, very thought out strategic attack that they've probably been working on and thinking about for years at this point. Like, I'm sure this was not just something that like in the last couple of months came together. I would not be surprised if Gensler, especially given that he has quite a background in blockchain and he's been thinking about this for a long time, I would not be surprised if he's been working on this strategy for years, and that it's absolutely being done hand in hand with the Fed and the plans to roll out the Fed Now coin and try and make a play to control as much of all of this as they possibly can. That's what I think.
Amidst all the stuff that's happening, we kind of have the backdrop of the market saying "F you" a little bit, which was really cool to see. Like that, like this SEC coming out and saying like Coinbase, the largest exchange, you're an unregulated securities exchange. To see this bounce here, so there was that immediate story, correct? Like we had the Binance story, I believe, here. Then we had the Coinbase story here, I believe. Actually, this might be the Binance dip. So it wasn't even that much, or the Coinbase dip. So you have the Binance news here. Then you have the Coinbase dip here. And really, we're kind of sitting at a little bit lower. This is Bitcoin, by the way. We're sitting at a little bit lower than the pre-news price, which is
maybe
nuts to see.
Maybe less than 5%. To your point, Q, you like to point out that if this was 5 years ago, this would have tanked the market. Like news like this would have absolutely, chunked 50% out of the market.
Yep. And it's tough to look back in these charts, but as you can see, like this was the COVID dip from 10K to 5K. and you can barely see it now, but this was the dip. What you saw with Coinbase being called out by the SEC here is no dip whatsoever. You had an actual price increase on the day it came out for a lot of this stuff, which is wild. I mean, it's good to see. It's a good sign for the kind of like the rest of the space. And I think Mike Finch is obviously a friend of the network. I think his take is the SEC is really going to just lose this lawsuit outright. Like the SEC is not going to have any teeth with this.
Let's hope and pray.
Let's all
that's
hope
the
and
case.
pray. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And at this point, after like, I don't know about you guys, and then I got to cut out, but like, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the whistleblower that came out a couple of days ago. Yeah. The government's capable of all types of shit. The UFO stuff, man.
Oh, the UFO.
All right.
I haven't looked into this.
Do not send us down
Yo.
UFOs. Ronan, before you leave,
There's
I
a
need
rabbit.
your take on this.
Yo.
I
Yeah.
need Ronan. Let's watch this, and I need your take before you leave. All right, so that trailer was a little out there, but that is basically the trailer for the $40,000 trunk case. That is the
$42,000. Yeah.
Louis Vuitton drop that's happening. Very low supply, 40 G's, Soulbound token that you cannot sell.
Genius for a brand like Louis Vuitton. Look, we've seen some crazy stuff, all right? This to me feels really smart because it's guaranteeing like your payout, right? But it's also creating. I mean, they're guaranteeing, dude. This is gonna go. Just this is how. I don't know how many of them are there.
They said several hundred.
They're going. I fully believe it because this is the thing. You now hold the first ever token by Louis Vuitton. It is soulbound, and you are one of only a couple hundred people who will ever reap the benefits of what that soulbound token will be from Louis Vuitton. So when you look at a brand that is built on luxury and a brand that is built on exclusivity, and like that's, to me, again, that makes sense for the brand. Do I like the number? Maybe not. You know what I mean? $42,000 is a lot of fucking money, but Louis Vuitton ain't a cheap brand, right? And the people who shop there probably are not worried about $42,000. They love Louis Vuitton. And the idea of being one of 400 Louis Vuitton collectors that actually like will ever be able to own this thing and reap the benefits of those rewards is up. I'm sure it's, yeah.
On that,
they can't sell this, but they can sell whatever the hell they get airdropped, or they can sell whatever the heck comes next.
We don't know that,
right?
We don't know that, but you could be right. But they haven't said anything about what's coming, so we don't know that. But I think, look, I do at least appreciate when people are trying new things and innovating. I don't know that I still agree with the soulbound idea of it. However, I do think that they're going to probably sell out, to Ronan's point anyway, with the price, and that it is cool to have one of these OG LV NFTs if you can get it. But to me, I still think it's too expensive, and it's weird in my opinion.
Super expensive,
dude. My initial take with the whole soulbound piece was that you could sell the wallet, but you really can't. You can't do that, because what's essentially you're trusting the individual to not have a copy of the private key at that point. Because if you say you sell the wallet, okay, here's my private key, now you have access. The private key doesn't change. You know what I'm saying?
And you can't move it out of the wallet. So yeah, I get that. But again, I really don't think the value ends up being there. I think the value ends up being in this super exclusive group of people who own this item. And I mean, think about that. It's something that will never be able to be transferred. That's the thing. That's the hook, right? This is something that Louis Vuitton is selling that no one else will ever be able to own. And the people who fucking do own it can't do shit with it. Like it's on a psyche level, on a psychological level, I feel like it hits all the things that make sense for that brand and for what they do anyway.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I still think it's a weird choice, but I can see how it makes sense, and I do appreciate doing crazy ideas with the technology, right? Because
I just think like,
yeah.
What if Yuga did like a, like fucking 5,000 like Soulbound tokens, the Yuga, and then like those 5,000 people were the ones that received 2 ape mints a piece. That was the only way to get the apes.
Yeah.
Then like, I just like,
but
now you just got a different type
$40K
of,
up front is not,
and not knowing what they have planned.
Yeah.
Right. Is definitely a huge leap.
And it wouldn't have created like it's a whole different play, right? This is coming from Louis Vuitton's established brand. You shouldn't start a community unless it's like an alpha group with like a $40,000 paywall saying, "Oh, you'll eventually get something in the future." Like those aren't the advocates that you want on like a massive community. Like
I mean, what if they could? I feel like let's say they came out and they were like, "There's going to be 300 of these things." And the only thing that we're committing to is one exclusive Louis Vuitton item a year, physical, that will ship to the owners in perpetuity.
I don't think they're going to do that, though.
That's all it would take. And that is nothing. And then guess what? Those people who own those 300 instantly take that item that came out and they sell it for 50 grand. And then they sell the next one the next year for 50 grand. And they sell the next one. It's like, if again, to your point, they have not said anything about what the fuck they're going to do. If the utility is there, if the purpose of doing it in this way that they're doing it is with the strategy that we're discussing in mind, it would make sense. But I'm not inside their team's head, and again, I don't know.
Here's the reason why I don't think that they're going to do that. I think they will do something, but it's going to be much more limited, not in perpetuity, because these people are obsessed with money and making money and selling extremely overpriced items at a 500 to 1,000% markup. They're not going to be putting themselves into a hole for 300 people that bought an NFT once. And I'll point to VeeFriends doing they committed to doing VCon and giving tickets for 3 years. They're not going to in perpetuity give you tickets to a giant fucking convention. Louis Vuitton products are worth a lot of money, and they know that. And so they are not going to commit to saying, hey, every single year in perpetuity, we're going to be sending you these fucking things. And then also what happens when those die? What if they pass away? So what I think is that they'll commit to something, but it'll be extremely limited. It'll have a window. And then after that, I think it's just oh, you got those things. It's done.
It could be a shift for them, though. Like their shift into Web3 could signal them kind of doing something that evolves their brand, which they wouldn't have done under the previous. So,
well, and that's the thing, right? Like it's again, there's the potential for it to actually be done in a way that would make sense for the activation, but there's also the other side of things, which is they do like to make money, and but 300 items for Louis Vuitton probably cost them $1,000, to your point, right? Despite what the hell they sell for. And my rebuttal to that was, if they have an intelligent Web3 strategist on board, then his response would be, the reason I'm telling you should do this is because you can throw an NFC chip in there that is a certificate of authentication. And then you can say that has to transpire on the blockchain. You control the blockchain, you receive royalties. And now the physical item has to be transferred on, digitally as well as physically for it to be sold. Now you also get royalties. So I feel like there's ways of going about it that would make sense from a business standpoint. Mm-hmm. But who knows if they're actually going to do that? To your point, there's probably 80% chance that they're just going to take fucking the money and do one thing that costs them 1/50th of whatever they do and walk away. But I like to think positively and think that hey, they could do really cool shit with that.
Quantum Variant saying, remember Europe laws have changed on crypto and all the big luxury brands want in now. He's also saying they don't make that much product to begin with, and having exclusive merch by them is way big. He loves the move. A lot of great comments coming through from y'all, so appreciate it. Keep him coming through. We have an announcement from Bored Ape Yacht Club, but I believe, Ronan, you got to run. But this is the heavy metal release here. Did you get a chance to see the trailer?
Yeah.
Thoughts on the trailer?
It's pretty cool. And you know, like, I think that, like, this is again where I think all of these brands need to be going, is like, tell us a cool story, show us cool fucking like animations, like get us like really interested in what's happening, and then like bring us into that universe and let us take part and play. And that's what it feels like the idea here is when it comes to the other side. And if it's executed in that way, where like there's a show and then all of a sudden now there's the other side that opens up, and it's literally Unreal Engine and it's Fortnite graphics and it's the same type of like atmosphere, I think they've got something really strong on their hands. You know, I mean, look at, dude, just I think it was just this morning or just yesterday, Roblox announced that they're now allowing for limited digital items. And this, like, they've got this whole structure in place now that like incentivizes content creators on the Roblox platform to create limited edition items. That's, I think, where we're starting to move towards in the digital realm, is appreciating that exclusivity.
Love it, man. Any last takes in the NFT industry at all? Like, I know you're touching on heavy metals there and Bored Ape, but anything
nah,
before you leave?
man. The only thing I gotta say is David Grush, the whistleblower gif. David Grush, look it up. All right, you guys have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. I fucking love you guys. I will see you next week. Holler.
Love you, dude. All right, GIF, you're muted.
Shit.
Maybe daily battle with the mute button.
Maybe we can talk about aliens at the end. But yeah, man. I'm really happy to see that it seems like the collision course between Web3 and gaming is just starting to happen. Like, it's just been inevitable, and I think we're seeing it happen in real time with some of these recent updates. And I really do think that what mass adoption looks like is a bunch of middle-aged gamers kicking and screaming when they realize that like all of these new cool things are fucking NFTs. and then they just accept it when they see their kids using them and not having a temper tantrum. To me, that's what mass adoption is going to look like.
It's weird seeing if you've been in crypto long enough, you've seen like multiple sectors start to give way to this technology. And for the longest time, like gaming, I think was sold initially without there being any infrastructure. That's why you saw that like massive run up with Axie Infinity and all this stuff. But now it does feel like there's some legs. You know, Grand Theft Auto will probably come out in 3 years, but they're starting to talk about it. You're seeing a lot of different moves in the gaming space. We've been
Grand Theft Auto. If Grand Theft Auto comes out with Web3 integrations and like a real currency of some kind, it's going to change the world.
They will.
This is not, we're not up here capping or talking shit or being hyperbolic. Grand Theft Auto is a massive, massive deal. Huge game, millions of players. And it is like, you know, when you think about that Ready Player One, quote unquote, metaverse open world experience, it's one of the closest things that you could have, like one of the most realistic experiences that you could have. And if they come out with a real fucking currency and like land and things attached to that, you are actually going to see the beginning of that Ready Player One metaverse where there's people that just lock themselves in their fucking rooms and never come out.
To be fair, that is just going to be extrapolated because there's people that do that now. So think about when you can actually.
I'm saying times 10 though, right? Like
then you got your Apple Metaverse headsets on.
Yeah. It's going to be absolutely like world changing if Grand Theft, the next GTA, comes out with a currency and Web3. I did want to. Prodigy is over here saying turbo to the moon, right? Help. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I'm still holding a bag of meme coins that I'm hoping is going to pump at some point. And like right now, everything's fucking dead. And yeah, turbo's down bad, and it sucks. But I'm still holding. And nothing's financial advice, as always. Do what you got to do to survive. That's what I'm doing.
So staying on this Bored Ape Yacht Club stuff as well, they released a heavy metal garage right after this trailer. This is not the like a world changing feature release here.
I didn't understand. Like, to me, is this just a sort of predecessor,
Yes.
like prep for the game? That's what I think this is, right? I think they're trying to get you ready in stages, and they're saying, hey, if you come connect over here, this is going to basically get you slotted in to play the game. That's what I think it is, right? Because this isn't really doing anything other than you're just connecting, right?
Yes, you're just connecting. It's basically the heavy metal garage, right? You're able to just kind of show off what you have and see those in a different environment. And I have the Luca Nets tweet up here that I'd like to get to, but you know, with Yuga making this move to heavy metals, to Legends of Tomorrow, they've said, fuck it, we're going to go full complexity chasm. And really, releases like this, I think, are important because they could totally not have the heavy metal garage. Like, they didn't need to do this. But having something like this, and you know, its accompanying features, like maybe a like you said, this might be a predecessor to the Legends of Tomorrow.
I think it's like a game launcher of some kind.
It is. It's showing. Yeah. I believe it'll have a tie-in. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're going to release these items and these assets, having additional features to go along with it so people can interact with them is very important. And so Luca Nets is saying overcomplicating your ecosystem is a very real thing. If I can't figure out what's going on within 60 seconds, then you're doing something wrong. And so Yuga is definitely in this environment where they're getting into this 60-second window of like, can you explain Bored Ape Yacht Club in 60 seconds? Yes. I think you could easily say like there's the Yacht Club and then there's the Legends of Tomorrow on another side. Like those are separate but also tied together. But releases like this heavy metal garage allow you to say, hey, look, we're releasing this stuff, but it's not just to release it. And that's what I think the NFT space gets caught up into. We're releasing another collection because we have to. Yeah. You know, and then there's no marketing that follows it, or it's not, you know, continuous. And that's where Yuga's gonna, I think, you know, have the ability to show it off consistently with their games. But also just, I think it's a great example. Like the heavy metal garage is not anything big. It's a tie-in to the future Legends of Tomorrow, but it's actually something that goes along with the assets that they're creating.
Yeah. Well, so you connected and that's showing off your pieces and that's it. Like, let's look at it, right? Pull it up. So basically you just log in, you connect, and then you can just see your heavy metals and, you know, higher quality, like a nice context that shows off the different parts, right? So yeah, it's not doing anything to me other than, to your point, giving you like a little bit more interaction. But really, to me, I would think that this is like a staging thing for the game. That's what I would think this is, some kind of launcher or prep stage, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get the Legends of Tomorrow likely in the summertime. So we get Evo 2 here, I think, in the next week or two, and then we'll get Legends of Tomorrow either late Q2 or in Q3 here, and we'll see where that goes. We touched on the Kennel Club as well as heavy metals, as you know, on the price, and it didn't do much. You know, that's going to be the, I think, bearish take that a lot of people have, is saying like, what the heck? Like, we're looking at kennel dogs here. There was an initial pump, maybe, you know, you see this volume increase, but really nothing substantial. So
and it's again, if you think back to a year ago, when some kind of news or update like this would drop, you'd see a rocket ship. You'd see some crazy pumpage coming out on these collections. So that's just, whether it's fatigue or it's just like we're just deep into this bear and there's no liquidity, like whatever it is, man, shit's just not hitting the same right now. And yeah.
So Prodigy saying GTA role-playing servers like No Pixel are huge. So many players with waitlists and the biggest streamers in the world on the game playing different characters. Squashman saying also people get wrapped up in BAYC and other side as a single beast when they should be viewed separately. I agree with that, but with the caveat being BAYC, MAYC, and kennel clubs have the added utility in the other side. I agree with that take fully. I think their idea is to have the other side be completely separate, where it's its own entity, but Bored Ape, to your point, all the assets of the Bored Ape ecosystem will be the first characters in the other side. So
yeah, I got to pee real quick, so give me 2 seconds. I'll be back.
all right, I'm gonna cover another game real quick while Gifted is taking a wee. Illuvium is one that I brought up multiple times. So Framework Ventures taking a $10 million leap of faith into Illuvium. This is big for one, obviously Illuvium, $10 million going into their pocket. Framework's a really it's a fund that has been on the channel here and on the network under our podcast format, but they're really tied into the ecosystem. They're smart individuals. It's not just some kind of like follow-up fund where they're just going to kind of tie in and kind of like invest off the back of Andreessen Horowitz or anything. Framework Ventures is in the ecosystem. They're tied in fully. So this is really cool to see them get this $10 million funding from Framework. I can probably go more into it here. With this generous backing, we're all set to turbocharge our development and supercharge our journey towards the open beta. This means our dedicated global team is more empowered than ever to construct and launch the mesmerizing Illuvium universe. So Illuvium's been on our radar for a long time. It has. It's been one that we point to and say, this is going to be one of the best Web3 games. With Prodigy, I sent you an actual tweet as well about Star Atlas, but that was really the first gen of games. Is Star Atlas, is Illuvium, and this $10 million of funding likely helps them reach their goal of trying to extend runway to the net. Not that they didn't have the runway, but this is obviously going to be a cash injection that'll help them. So big shout outs to Illuvium. Hopefully we get some open beta play here shortly, but it seems like they're just in development, heads down. Hoping that changes soon. Squash saying, I do like that other side is targeting multiple communities and projects to build within it, but I would like to see that cross-pollination and collabs between BAYC and other brands and projects. You hit it on the first one. That is, I am so on board with the other side now. I couldn't be more bullish because they essentially do not have to create a game to rival Fortnite or what are some other massive games, World of Warcraft and things like this. I think that's where my mindset went initially. But what you just said, other side targeting multiple communities and projects, literally take the rise of Sandbox and put it on top of the other side. And just that is what's going to happen. You're going to see all of these different NFT projects try to utilize the other side, all displaying and marketing for the other side because everybody wants to be in there. Every collection wants to be. Azuki's will try to be in there. Cool Cats will try to be in there. All of these projects are going to try to have their own spot in the other side. And that alone will make it a success. It doesn't need a rival World of Warcraft, which is what I thought initially. I was like, oh shit, like
it
they
also
fucked this up.
yeah, to your point, like it doesn't need to rival them and doesn't need to really attract that many new Web 2 people if it can amass enough interest and community support from within Web 3, right? So if they can not only have the large Yuka ecosystem that they have interested in this, but then to your point, have all these different other big communities interested, shit, like how much do you really need Web 2?
That's going to be the dichotomy. What route do they go where they go too far down that road and Web 2 gamers don't want to play? It's like, oh, that's too foreign to me.
That's the balance, right? Yeah, it's a very tricky balance.
All right, Prodigy's asking, what's the Illuvium token at these days? $50. Not, I mean, it got pretty far up there in the this chart looks actually ridiculous. $2,000. I had no idea it got up to that range. It's sitting at 50 now. This is what most tokens look like in the industry, outside of, I think, what would you say, Ethereum, Bitcoin and things like that. So yeah, Illuvium has a long way to go to reach its former greatness, but that might come if they position themselves as one of the top games in Web3 gaming when that narrative takes off. All right, so we got a couple different stories. The Squiggle merch drops today. I was going to talk about that, but really, the topic that was dominating the headlines and the topics that's on the thumbnail is Blur, and Statistics is doing a great job covering what's happening with different collections on Blur. But really, there's a couple different stories, so we'll just get started with the main one. They are essentially updating the token rewards to reflect them defending against wash trading, spoof trading, and making sure that the people that are being rewarded are not doing anything shady. So Blur is saying bidding points have been updated to reward bidders who take real risk with the most points. Blur rewards will go to users who genuinely contribute to Blur's growth. The following tactics don't work: transferring NFTs for loyalty, wash trading, and spoofing bids.
Why wouldn't you roll out with this?
Probably because they wouldn't attract the most liquidity.
Yeah. Like, do I think that it's a healthy update? Yeah, but does it make me feel better about the Blur team and their motives? No.
It's probably a fair take. They probably looked at it and said, "Hey, we can update this along the lines," because they had to know. They're big enough brains to know what was going to happen. But attracting that liquidity, I think, is important. If for an exchange, like that's their livelihood, is to attract liquidity and try to make the biggest exchange. Squashman saying also, Q, I don't know if you remember from the fucking Metaverse podcast, but Gordon mentioned that Yuga bought a World of Warcraft, bought a WoW. World of Women, and that's what's included in the OG trailer. Yuga could also purchase and include communities. That's exactly what's going to happen, man. That's literally, and I don't think they necessarily need to acquire them. That's going to be the secret sauce, is they don't have to go out and acquire these different communities. They don't. They just implement whatever needs to happen in Unreal Engine to support that interoperability. So it seems like a hard load, right? To say, hey, we're going to have 10,000 different, NFTs in one collection and try to get multiple different collections. But that's why I'm not a dev. Transferring NFTs to gain loyalty. Loyalty is critical for Season 2. Transferring NFTs to list on other marketplaces decreases your loyalty. This isn't reflected in the UI, but transfers to list on other marketplaces are tracked on the back end, and it decreases loyalty, which decreases rewards. Points aren't rewarded for trading volume, but sometimes bots wash trade to increase the visibility of a collection and increase the points and increase the points allocated to it. Wash traders will be filtered from Season 2. And then spoofing bids also mentioned here. So I agree with your take. I think that they could have implemented this off the bat, likely not to. They couldn't have known what would happen when they were released, but they could have a good guess. So that's going to be something that this update is going to hopefully handle that now going forward, which is nice.
Yeah, again, I think it's a positive move forward. It just seems convenient to do it now instead of earlier on, because they've been at it for a year, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, because I think that the royalties situation is definitely one that I probably side with you on. I just, at the same time, it's just like in my eyes, they're creating a business and they've found product market fit. So like that's kind of like their prerogative, is to create a business. So, and they've essentially done that on the lending and the trading side now. So.
Business over everything. I know.
Well, you're building business products for this industry. That's definitely, what's going to happen. So,
yeah.
So Machi's back. We got 100 mutants dumped from a blend wallet into bids. So just basically the blend and blur fuckery is going to increase here over the next maybe couple weeks. I don't know how Machi is going to last this time. We'll see if he lasts for a considerable amount of time, because he did the Franklin and basically pieced out for a little bit. But this is from A Raving Ape. Machi Big Brother returns to the Blur IO pool after last night AMA. You can see he's got 3,000 ETH there, 5 milli there. That I don't know if the 100 mutant dump was from Machi himself, but it's just going to, be a circus for a little while here. Median BAYC has already traded 6 times this week, so these are definitely shit coins with pictures in this market. Statistics is pointing out, because it's not kind of buy and hold. The median BAYC is being traded 6 times in a week, which is a wild stat.
Franklin's back. Machi's back. Yep.
And here's statistics. Who's a great honestly, probably one of my favorite follows in the space, and he leans a certain way as well when it comes to I think what he likes or what he does, because he's saying lending on Blur and Blend is one of the best risk reward plays in NFTs right now. So I'm actually going to try the lending feature out just so we can talk intelligently here on the show if it's going to keep coming up. But I'm going to try the blend lending with one of my collections. I got to see what's offered. But I'm going to try to do that and see what the reward system's like. Is it worth it? And all those.
Yeah. What are they offering now? Where can we find the most up to date? Because they keep adding a few more collections.
So I've got the Blur website in front of me. Collection. It's tough to actually find the blend portion of this website. It's like built into the Blur portion. So if you look at Mutant Apes here, you can see there's bids, loans, and just regular trading here. So it's tough to even kind of break this down. I'm gonna have
go to the
sit
loans.
down.
Click on loans. No, your loans,
Create
your
loan
offers.
to earn lending points. So there was a quick tutorial when I first joined. There's no tutorial now, obviously, clicking through. So we'll see. Yeah,
let us know if you know where the updated list is, because I've seen it updated a couple different times. Last I saw, there was 8 different collections that could be leveraged.
Well, I think what you have to look at is probably the volume here. I'm not necessarily saying this is going to tie in correctly, but most of the ones that have the most volume are going to be the ones that they're going to offer a product for. So
yeah, but not all of those. I don't think Captains is on there yet. I could be wrong, but I think the Gods may have been added. Oh, there you go. Here it is. Okay, Miladies, Clonex, Beans, Kennel Club.
Interesting that redacted Remilio
babies. Yeah, Miladies and redacted Remilio babies. What is going on with that, man? That's strange.
Well, those two collections are I wouldn't say tied into each other, but there's some tie in there.
There's some weirdness going on. Did it say Otherdeeds?
Yeah, Otherdeeds are on there.
Huh.
So Quantum Variant saying, don't forget 10K TF, Punks, Meebits will all be included. Those will be included the other side off the bat, 100%. So 10K TF being the best of all of those, in my opinion. When it's coming out the gate, 10K TF is going to be absolutely just sick.
Well, so have you bought any yet?
10K TF?
Yeah.
There's... Why do you you have this?
No, I'm just curious if you have, because you seem very bullish.
I'm interested in this space. I don't need to buy every asset that I'm interested in.
I'm very bullish on it too, but I haven't bought any. But I've been looking recently at the floor on the Stockroom. But I think that the play was to make the already forged or whatever ones. So I don't know. We've talked about it a couple different times. I was just curious if you bought any.
You said it. It was not what you said. It was how you said it. But 10K TF is a great example of you can buy one asset that gets you. If you're not going to be active in that environment, there's a whole nother list to go with 10K TF. That's the biggest takeaway for me. With 10K TF, it's a case study of if you just want to buy and hold. There's a PFP, I believe, with the Gtags that you would probably buy into. If you're going to do all the fucking activity and in all the creation of different assets, then I think the Stockroom is definitely what you want to go with. So I'm
China saying Meebits are so under the radar. All right. I'm wondering why, China. Let us know why you feel like Meebits are undervalued, because that's another one of these like pixel, like OG pixel projects that it's hard for me to get excited about the IP. Although I did like when we were showing their emotes or whatever, their animations, I thought they looked pretty cool. Like I thought it was good quality. I think that they do have like a legit team building, and they are, again, to your point, like owned by Yuga. So you might be right.
Alpha Dog Tags is the first. I'm trying to find this Gtag collection. I don't know if it's called something else right off the bat, but I know someone was talking Alpha Dog to us yesterday.
Yeah.
What is
so Florin Meebits is sitting at 2 ETH right now. It's still pretty expensive.
So 10 KTF Stockrooms pulled up here on NFT Go, 0.04. If I zoom out to 3 months, let's see where it's gone. It's down 33% over the last 3 months. 30 days, it's up 25%. The Stockroom, to me, again, feels like you have to be ingrained in the ecosystem. You really need to know what the fuck is going on. Whereas the Gtag here we found it, is the one that you want to purchase, not financial advice, but the one you want to purchase if you're not going to be yielding anything from the Stockroom assets. So
this is a solid question from Quantum Variant, because they're both sitting around 2 ETH right now. And that's, would you pick up a Meebit or a Moonbird right now? That would be a solid poll. But yeah, let us know in the chat. If you got 2 ETH, are you buying a Meebit or a Moonbird right now?
Thank you for bringing that up, because we ran 2 polls. GCG going to make a comeback. 69% said no.
Oof.
Will the Louis Vuitton
That's
Trunks
more
sell
than
out?
that is more than 2/3. That's practically 70%.
Math. Will Louis
That's
Vuitton
mathing.
Trunks sell out? 100% of y'all said yes. All right, we can ask that. I like that question. Meebits or Moonbirds?
Wow, I'm actually surprised. Easy saying he'd get a Meebit over a Moonbird right now. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, given the other side.
This is I want to know more about the G tags, man, because this is 100% going to be the PFP of 10 KTF. Like that alone has to.
And the floor is only it's like 0.5.
0.5.
Is that the big brain play right now? Gtag. How do you spell that, or how do you find that?
It's under the 10 KTF Stockroom. There's 3,700 owners. I don't know how it was distributed. The volume has dropped off for sure. Let's see here.
10 KTF Stockroom.
Yeah, it's tough to track these things, man, because they're all part of the Stockroom. So the floor price is all off for me.
Yeah.
But it looks like Gtag specifically
0.49. So half ETH floor right now on these Gtags. And there's 15,600 of them. It's pretty high supply, but it's not
is that
crazy.
True? Is it 15,000, or is this the I'm looking at the entire Stockroom. I'm
looking at the Gtag.
So there's where are you searching that? OpenSea?
Yeah. Here, I'll share it. So in the Stockroom, to your point, if you go in to
drop that link if you can.
There it is. Yeah, if you go into the Stockroom and you click on Gtags, you pull them up. See 15,600. And there's less than 4,000 owners. So the unique this would be a downside for sure. That the unique holders is a pretty low percent. So what's like,
So whales,
let's do the
basically.
math. Yeah, let's do the math. So
That makes sense.
3,700 over 15,600. It's
So-
only it's only 24% unique holder right now ratio, which means that there's going to be a lot of people dumping these at some point. So that's a risk for sure.
Basically, yeah. So it's not a widely distributed
No,
collection at this point.
no, 24% is not awful, but it's not good. It's definitely not good. Like usually, like 30% is where you're like, okay, it's relatively okayly distributed, but even 30%, if it doesn't get beyond that up to the like 40-50% mark at some point, like you're kind of stuck, right? So 24% is pretty low.
Yeah. I guess the argument there, if you're kind of like with us right now with this 10K TF piece, is that there's probably a hardcore community that is going to be active with this stuff. But again, that might not trump the fact that like it's still a really low holder. Like you're going to get people that want to sell those, you know what I'm saying? Like in mass, if you have such a unique holder, like a low percentage there. So that's tough because I think the PFP for 10K TF is going to do extremely well.
Well, and to that point, the floor could very much, once they actually reveal or roll out a collection, the floor could be worth several ETH. It could be worth, much more than it is now. That's the gamble that you're making, but could also drop. Almost 16,000 is definitely a high supply. And it's also, if we're being honest, 10K TF I think is one of those projects that struggles a little bit with complexity chasm. Like we've had kind of issues getting into it. They seem to still have a very active and vibrant community though. And that's the thing that like still makes me kind of bullish.
Who tells a better story?
They tell a really good story for sure.
All right, folks, we're gonna pop out of here soon, almost at an hour 45. So thank you guys for tuning in. I do want to share really quick the NFT Go bag check with you guys to keep a look at how we're rounding out the rest of the week on NFTs. Again, NFT Go is the sponsor for these episodes of NFT Live this month. So smash the like for them. Give them a look in the description. You can see that the link is there if you want to go check out everything that they've got. Gtag does a great job of breaking down as well the tool that they have for Twitter profiles related to certain addresses. So I love that.
Let's share that tweet in the chat because I don't think enough people actually use this or know about it, but it's a really fucking cool tool. And that is that they have a free Chrome extension for Twitter. And it just seamlessly integrates like real-time data and updates into your Twitter feed, into your dashboard. It's really fucking cool.
So I'm going to share that now. Also, went to go search Gtag. My man is unbanned, folks, from the search ban. Let's go.
Come on. I need to go check this.
No, you're there. Look, yesterday.
No, but I mean,
really
like,
Gtag.
if I go to like this checker and I say it, do I still have suggestion? I think there's a difference between suggestion ban.
I told you.
What happened?
That's what I mean. It's the Illuminati, dude.
Did we make enough noise on Twitter yesterday that they just reset everything and they said, you know what, we're fucking up. Dude, what happened?
Yeah, anyways, bearing the lead here, definitely check out this NFT Go Twitter extension. I'm going to download it right now, actually, because I'm interested in that feature. But yes, we're all unsearch banned. Somehow somebody at Twitter saw this and said, you know what, by the grace of God, I'm going to let you guys be unbanned. So thank you.
They're watching NFT Live. Twitter support is watching NFT Live. Absolutely. So smash the like for that because they're paying attention to what we're doing here.
All right, I'm looking at 10K TF, but let's take a look here at the bag check. Okay, so NFT Go bag check, 26 on the sentiment here, still fairly low, right? Blue chip index is holding as we round out the week. We're still above where we started from last Thursday, so that's nice to see, at least against ETH. Let's see what it looks like against USD. still above that point as well on the blue chip. Market cap and volume, market cap picking up here. It looks like, man, we're still, when I say picking up, I mean, I guess volume. Market cap has fallen off, but we're still above where we were to end last week. Let's go down to the collections really quick to take a look. Azuki is going to be the top over the last 7 days. Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Apes, Beans, Opepin, Captains to Gods, FF6000, Sproto, Gremlins, and Extreme Pixels. Nothing really stands out here other than MFers on the last 24 hours. Looks like Art Blocks makes the list as well. But yeah, there's your NFT Go bag check to round out this Thursday. This is going to be the last episode of NFT Live for the week, of course.
Check. All right. Yeah. Well done, Nifty Q. Well done. And apparently, Quantum Variant saying Gensler is out here calling all of us hucksters, fraudsters, and scam artists. What the fuck's a huckster?
What did I do to you, man?
I know. Get the fuck out of here, bro. What the fuck's a huckster? Jesus.
Yikes. 71% of you said you buy a Meebit over a Moonbird.
Wow.
28% of you said Moonbirds. So
how far the Moonbirds have fallen, man.
They were a blue chip. Prodigy was saying he'd get a Meebit as well. In 5 years, China will run the world and America will be gone and we will all be dead. So none of this matters anyways. Wow.
That's a positive note. We should talk about aliens now.
I'm gonna report Prodigy here to the American government.
That's
like almost treason.
Choina talking about how Twitter support picked up on our show yesterday. Never underestimate the reach of the tribe. That's right. Our vibe, our tribe, ladies and degenerates. And Squashman says he sent us a Twitter feed about some cool things. I wanted to also shout you out, Squashman, for the great reco on the podcast. I did give it a listen yesterday. Learned quite a bit about how deep into Web3 NFT music and developing out the infrastructure for bands and music artists to use Web3 tech Avenged Sevenfold are. They're actually doing some really interesting stuff. Learn more about Ticketmaster and ticketing and some other things about like doodles and what they're doing. So yeah, Gen C, I guess that's CoinDesk. I think it's CoinDesk's new. I guess it's a partnership with Vayner3 because Avery from Vayner3 is like one of the co-hosts.
Gotcha.
So everybody's trying to get into the Web3 podcasting game, Nifty Q. But you know what the best one is right now? The best new podcast for Web3.
Have you listened to it yet? You can't say this unless you listen to an episode.
Absolutely.
Look me in the eye.
Wow Web.
Which episode?
I listened to the first episode. I to be fair, I need to catch up on the new ones. But like Wow Web, fam, that is the new one-on-one deep dive podcast into the pioneers on the frontier of Web3. Brought to you by Nifty Q himself. Smash the like for that and make sure to check that out over there on Spotify. That's freaking dope. And yeah. Let's grow this thing.
Yeah, we've got Harry Lou on Monday. So we're getting that. We already had that episode recorded. We're going to get it edited and sent out on Monday. So right now they're going to be weekly. I believe I'm talking to Jacob. And we're going to increase that to 2 times a week, probably in the next month or two. So we want to get our legs up under us on the podcasting front. And then we'll release those 2 episodes a week, hopefully. Easy in Crypto saying, peace, y'all. It's whip time for me. Peace, man. Our vibe, our tribe. Aliens are real, by the way. I agree with that. It's a good take.
Aliens are real.
Solid take.
And we're all a bunch of hucksters. This is the world that we find ourselves in.
We're going to be hucksters next week, and the week after that, aliens will exist forever. This is NFT Live. These are the takes, the spicy hot takes you get here at the end of the episode. This is like an end credit scene.
Well, then, if anybody gets credit, it's got to be this amazing chat over here. Y'all fucking killed it today and this week. Cannot tell you what it means to have such awesome people showing up and making these conversations happen every single day that y'all show up. It really does make a difference. So, salute to you, fam.
Appreciate y'all. See you next week. Our vibe, our tribe.